All right, this is part 2, a collective intuitive message about fungi, fungus, yeast, and candida overgrowth, as well as the sugar yeast connection, which we will get into, but we are still talking about fungus. And again, you can have a positive and a negative, but that, mutual, like, symbiotic relationship with things, throughout time is important. And continuing from where I left off, humans, although taking the beneficial part of, some parts in time, have, really gone overboard when it comes to like synthetic things or man-made things. And we eat and, take on a lot of, things that have yeast and sugar and all these things that are not, so much natural, or things that can cause overgrowth, or, overstimulation, or, mutations of things. But anyways, so continuing where I left off. It was only 100 or so years ago that, it could, give or take a couple years, Alexander Fleming accidentally discovered penicillin. So whenever penicillin was discovered, it's a form of fungus that we use to combat bacterial epidemics that kept sweeping the planet since and through world's population has tripled. Pausing there, I want to say that, and thinking about it, we're so used to the antibiotics that we have today, and we're constantly being put, not everybody is, but a lot of the world's populations, either they don't have any at all, or don't have no way of knowing of the natural remedies, or they're prescribed too much constantly, so they don't work anymore. They don't work how they're supposed to. That's why they have so many of these changings, or, not masking the symptoms anymore, just not working in general, because, everything evolves, everything, does its function. And when it's in dysfunction, especially from something that is not typical, or, supposed to be happening, that is where, you're supposed to be pausing and looking at what's going on, to take it back more down to a natural balance state, and nobody has done that. So yeah, scientists estimate that there are over 500,000, it's probably bigger than that, but species of fungi on Earth, but we've only discovered about 1%. That might be like 5 billion. It's just 5, 000, 000, 000. Whatever that is. So there is so much yet to be discovered in each and every organism, no matter how big, how small, or, what it looks like, or, it's what it feels like. You don't necessarily have to see it to experience it or know its energy. That's why it's important to know the energies in your body, because there, are so many smaller things on you that you can sort of communicate with and figure out a balance. And we'll get back into that in a second. But fungi have made us who we are, and the most exciting discoveries are yet to come. So again, a lot of us have too much yeast, fueled by sugar, as well as many other different things, including environment and, hot and cold temperatures, sweats, and, areas not getting enough breathing room. So there is overload of fungi, or being overloaded, overstimulated, so it creates barriers and blockages, within many things. If this resonates in many different ways through the body, throughout the world, throughout different systems, when you have all these overloads. And they create dysfunction, which creates dysfunction within many different areas. So here are some of my other intuitive insights here. The medicine, the remedy, roots. Found in the roots is important. 2, 3, 5. Looked at the physical, and in the top half there is, if you're looking at this as in the physical part component, and then the bottom is the more natural component. So we have the spiritual. One second. I said that wrong. So we've looked at the physical. We've looked at the spiritual. So then we have to look at the more natural things. So we've gone down the line, down the ladder, and it all comes down to natural orders. But they all resonate and work together, that connect to the emotions of the mind and the body and connectivity. And you can think of yourself as components too, but the top half connecting to the 2 basic parts, and 3 down to the lower elements, which I think I get into later in this other part. If not, I wrote it down somewhere else. This is, so where there's separation, you must align. So we all have to align this to 5, which is your Merkaba, which is your vessel, which is your movement. This is what makes you uniquely you, aligning both halves from the root up. Elements of self, levels up, both halves connect to a third to make the 5th and the 6th elements. The 6th, lesser known, harder to tap into, like looking for water or tree sap, like overabundance of water, that pocket, that pool. You have to look at that spot or discern or carefully sense to find that. And then the 7th, which is it would be like the 8th or whatever you would like to call it. So let's move on to our next part. Candida overgrowth. And candida is this is the sugar yeast connection, which has a very unique perspective and understanding, but of what causes a lot of dis-ease within the body, within the spirit, within the mind, can cause like physical, like eczema or rash or itch, or internally digestive issues, things of that matter. And we all have candida on the body, and you can look this up and the different areas, and there are different kinds. But it has more of an impact on our body and our minds than we realize, because of the environment in which we have grown up into and what we have consumed over time, or what we allow the world for us to consume, instead of keeping a natural remedied state. They've basically manufactured, and it's basically it's hard to describe this. It's almost like the world is in such imbalance and out of its natural state that we've overlooked the natural, simple things that have the most effects, in changing things, and yet we choose to overlook them. We choose to, blame other things or mask, signs or symptoms, instead of getting down to the root of things. And this, when I read and learned about this, and I've already known about it, but reading about it again, it answered a lot of questions for me, health-wise, over